What's up, YouTube? This is Big Mike. Well, we've all got the final series that a lot of us expected. Some of us expected this even before the season started, between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors. The NBA expected it and wanted it. This video, I'm not going to dwell too much into the conspiracy stuff, all right? I have my own personal beliefs about that, but this video is going to be strictly more about, the finals matchup and what I think might happen. Of course, this series is going to be between the Golden State Warriors and the Cleveland Cavaliers. And the Warriors, with their 73-9 record, of course, will have home court advantage. A few years ago, it was almost an advantage to have the road record because I think after the 1984 finals, starting in 1985, I think from 1985 to, I can't remember exactly what year it changed, but I want to say it was like 2010 or something like that. It's one of those finals that changed afterward. But for about 25 years, the finals used to be a 2-3-2 format, with two at home, then the road team played three, then the last two were at home of the team that had home court advantage. And that was primarily done because the NBA had become so big during the 80s that it was covered by so much media and press that it was sort of hard and it was sort of a burden for the media to have to go back and forth so much, as far as travel and expenses. And also, you have to remember that in 1985, this was still before NBA teams had their own chartered flights. So, planes. So that was made to adjust to those accommodations. But of course, the world we live in now, with social media, the way it is, it's not wasn't necessary anymore. So now the finals is the way normal series are, 2-2, 1-1-1. Anyway, I think Cleveland was 59-23 during the regular season. And of course, last year, Golden State defeated Cleveland 4-2 to win the championship, their first in 40 years since the 1975 NBA Finals. I think Rick Barry won the MVP. And it was the fourth championship in franchise history. Golden State, before they were named that, used to be the San Francisco Warriors, and before that they were the Philadelphia Warriors. And of course, as the Philadelphia Warriors, they won the inaugural 1946-47 title, when I think the league was still called the BAA, the Basketball Association of America. And the next title was in 1955-56, when you had guys on the team such as the great Paul Arizin and Neil Johnston. And I think they played the Knicks in that finals too. But anyway, with this NBA Finals, right, I think that Cleveland is going to be, they're both psyched up. They're both psyched up for this, Stephen Curry and them guys, they want to prove that they, in their minds, are the greatest individual regular season team of all time. You guys know how I feel about that. But hey, they feel it. Hey, that's how they feel. Okay, if you're LeBron and you're Cleveland, you have to feel a very high sense of motivation here. Last year, you guys were undermanned. Coming into the NBA Finals, Kevin Love was injured. After Game 1, Kyrie Irving goes down. LeBron James, despite the fact that I was critical of him because he was a volume shooter, I think he only shot like 38% in that finals, but still, he took on a tremendous burden and load for that team. He was the scorer. He was the playmaker. He was a rebounder. He was a team leader. He stepped up on well, actually, I had to take that back. Sometimes he didn't step up on defense, but I can understand that, being that he took on so many different roles for that team. And he nearly won Finals MVP. He would have only become the second man in NBA history to win Finals MVP from the losing team. The only other player to actually do that, Jerry West, and the first award given for the finals, I believe, in 1969. And Cleveland actually went up 2-1 last year, but Golden State just proved too much, and they won in 6 games. But if you're Cleveland, you have to feel extra motivated. You probably feel like you have a better team, and more importantly, you're fully manned now. And Cleveland has proven throughout this playoffs that they can win on the road. And I think if you're Golden State, you're confident, but you're not overconfident. And I think Cleveland is a different beast than the Oklahoma City Thunder. For all the talent that Thunder have, they still were a two-man team. Cleveland's not a two-man team. Yes, I guess their main guys are LeBron James and Kyrie Irving, and you got to put Love in there as well. But they have an all-around talented team. And one guy that doesn't get mentioned a lot, because I think a lot of younger fans don't really remember him, but Richard Jefferson, man, might be an X factor in this series. Now, remember I said this first, okay? Richard Jefferson might be an X factor in this series, because I remember Richard Jefferson. He's a step slower now, a tad heavier. He's not the same guy anymore, but Richard Jefferson is one of the most underrated players I've ever seen. I remember his heyday with the New Jersey Nets, back when they were still in New Jersey, and he was pretty much a borderline all-star. If he wasn't an all-star, I remember he had some seasons putting up 20-plus points a game. The guy was a great player, man, or at least a solid player. No, fuck that. He was a great but, he's still effective. I don't think he worked out very well when he was with the Spurs, but with this team, oh my God, man, he's really balling. And I think he might be a guy who might step up and have some key baskets for Cleveland. I think I was talking about the matchups, or the comparisons between the Thunder and the Cavaliers. LeBron is much more mentally stronger. He was much mentally stronger, I think, than Durant. Sometimes I think when when the Thunder would get down or go down and get behind, they would sort of lose their nerve and revert back to one-on-one ISO. Cleveland doesn't necessarily, they don't really do that. Yes, they have lost some games. They did lose 2 games to the Raptors. I have my personal feelings about those 2 losses, but Cleveland has proven that they are a championship caliber team. And Golden State, can't take this team lightly. Now, on the other hand, you can make the argument that Golden State has consistently played a higher caliber competition in these playoffs than the Cavaliers have. The Cavaliers, if they have something like I think their playoff record is right now is 12-2, which is tremendous. I think Golden State is something like 12 and 3, 4, 5. I think they're 12-5. So, that's just reflective of the fact that probably Golden State has played, a better caliber of opponent than Cleveland has. Now, no one's going to stop Stephen Curry. If I remember correctly, in last year's finals, I think that Cleveland had his name slips my mind, guys. What's his name? The white boy from the bench, Metavinko, I think his name is. I might be butchering his name, but I remember him doing a really good job on Stephen Curry last year. If I'm not mistaken, Stephen Curry didn't really break out in that series until the last game of the season of that series. if I remember correctly, he was really having a tough scoring against Cleveland. I don't know how that would work this year because Steph seems like he's become even better this year as a scorer as opposed to last year. And he was good last year. So I don't know. I suspect that he's going to have a very good series against Cleveland, mainly because I think that Kyrie will be guarding him, and Kyrie is not an elite defender to the level that Russell is. So I expect Curry to average damn near 30 this series, 28, 29. If Curry's averaging like 32, 33 or so, Cleveland's in trouble. All right. Cleveland also is going to have more than two guys step up. It's going to have to be more than LeBron and Kyrie themselves. Kevin Love's going to have a good series. Okay, J.R. Smith, Iman Shumpert, Shannon Fry. These guys cannot be on milk cartons, all right? You can't be on milk cartons being like, where they be at? You know, have you seen us? These guys are going to have to show up and step up and shoot the three. And also, to guys like J.R. Smith and Shumpert, you do not necessarily always have to settle on three-pointers. You have a hand. You can dribble. You can dribble and penetrate and drive to the basket. Yes, it takes up energy, but get your lazy ass sometimes. Stop shooting the three. If you 0 for 3 from downtown, all right, drive to the basket, get to the foul line. Many times, I remember hearing Doug Collins and Hubie Brown. Hubie Brown, probably the greatest analyst of all time. I always used to hear him say, one of the best ways to get out of a shooting slump is to drive to the basket, get to the foul line, settle down, shoot free throws. Shooting foul shots can sometimes get you back into your rhythm. That's a great way to get back into your rhythm. Stop selling for three-pointers if you're 0 for 7 from downtown. But anyway, I think that, I really don't know who's going to win this series. You guys know how I feel about, the league being rigged, whatever. I'm just going to say this. If there is some sort of shenanigans going on, right, with the league, I would think they have a vested interest in having Cleveland win this series. All right? It'll make a great storyline. Cleveland hasn't won a title, any type of title. I'm not talking about just the Cavaliers. I mean any of their sports franchises since 1964 when Jim Brown led his team against I think it was the Baltimore Colts in the NFL championship. This is before the Super Bowl. 52 years ago. And they've had not only the fact they've had like terrible droughts as far as they've had some woefully horrible playoff sports moments, excuse me. Like, I mean, this is the same team that John Elway had to drive against in 86. This is the same team that Michael Jordan had the shot on in 89 and also in 93. Shot part 2. I mean, this is a city that has had a lot of terrible draft picks in the NFL that just totally just set the franchise back 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Okay, this is the same city that I remember the Cleveland Indians had blown, what was it? I think it was the 1997 World Series where they had that game where many people felt like that the umpire, I forgot his name, I think it was Greg something, had horrible calls as far as pitches is concerned. And they blew that series. Like a lot of bad, horrible moments in sports history. And who better than LeBron James, the hometown boy, to bring the city, and after the decision, bring the city bring the city the long coveted NBA championship that they, so to be honest with you, desperately need, because economically Cleveland would need a title, would really love a title. All right. It'll the wounds of the decision, and it makes sense because they lost the title last year. And LeBron isn't getting any younger. He's 31 years old. And it would look very bad to see his team or his personal record in the finals be 2-5. So if I had to take a guess, now, I think Cleveland wins the title in 6 or 7 games, which would actually mean that it went on the road, which I think. So that's what I pretty much think in a nutshell. So I think I wonder how Draymond Green will perform in this series. I'm just a little curious about Draymond Green, versus maybe Thompson or something like that. I think this series might get a little antsy. Might be some, it's going to be interesting. But anyway, that's pretty much what I think, man. Tell me what you guys think.